Guys, wouldn't your wife or girlfriend love it if you treated her to the very best this Christmas? Now you can, with the world's softest pajamas by Pajamagram. Created by a team of pajama experts, the world's softest PJs are lighter than a cloud, softer than a bunny, like cashmere, only better. She'll love how heavenly they feel. Includes free gift packaging and Christmas delivery is guaranteed. So visit pajamagram.com or call 1-800-GIVE-PJs.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Hello, Saints fans. How are you? Are you out there? Are you listening? Did you enjoy the game last night? I mean, you'd have to admit it was a very, very, very exciting sort of game. It was 20-17 in the end. I mean, isn't this sort of thing that sort of excites you guys? Your squad was going down the field with a chance to take a lead. Drew Brees threw a pass in the end zone to the tight end. Some dude named Hill that wound up being intercepted. I saw somebody say on the Twitters that the last 93 times that Drew Brees had thrown a pass to the tight end in the red zone, not only had it not gone as an interception, they had all been complete. Like he was cash money down there. That was something that y'all could count on. Until you couldn't. Until you lost. You also wound up in this situation where you got your football team set up in such a way where y'all got to depend on a dude from Atlanta. His name is Alvin Kamara. But you know, he wasn't able to play for the whole game. It happens. And suddenly the Saints looked a whole lot more normal and mortal without Kamara out there. And it's not like Mark Ingram played badly necessarily, but that running game that they've had was not the same without Kamara being there. Like, he was the variable that came in and changed. Basically, I feel like Kamara was to the Saints what I'm sure Adrian Peterson had in his mind that he would be for the Saints before they shipped him out of there. Because remember that when they got Adrian Peterson, we're like, wow, are they really going to run the ball like that? And we're like, nah, they're not going to run the ball like that. They're the Saints. And then they got Adrian Peterson out of there, and then they turned into the damn, like, Wisconsin Badgers. Anyway, sorry about that, Saints fans. And where I say I apologize to you, Saints fans, for the fact that y'all lost that game is I should have been looking out for you before the game instead of after the game. And after the game was when I realized what it was that y'all needed. So it was probably about 12:30 in the morning Eastern time after the game had been done. And I did something at that moment that I should have done before the game so that you guys could more adequately prepare. And I sent out the tweet with the picture of the paper bags because, as you may recall, Saints fans have a history, a track record with putting paper bags on their faces because they were ashamed to be seen watching their little sorry football team in action. In this case, I sent it to you after the game, and I should have sent it before because there was going to be a moment where some of y'all were going to be there and we'd be like, man, I wish I could put a paper bag on my head right now. I wish nobody could see me right now. Damn, Bomani. Where's my paper bag? And some of y'all had to wait all the way until the morning until you could hide your shame inside that paper bag. And that's not your fault. That's my fault. I claim to care. You know what I mean? I claim to be somebody that want to do something for other people, something that's bigger than myself, something that's outside myself. I don't like people to think of me as being selfish and being self-absorbed in that way because I'm not selfish or self-absorbed in that way. No, sirree, Bob. I'm a helper. I'm a pleaser. I'm a lover, and I love nothing more than giving Saints fans that paper bag. How'd y'all feel? How'd that go? By the way, after the Saints took that paper bag loss, I had a whole lot of people that were hitting me up, and they were talking about 28-3, 28-3, 28-3. And I get where you're coming from on the 28-3. And, like, if I was a Falcons fan, it would really hurt my heart if you kept hitting me with that 28-3. But what y'all know, man, I ain't no Falcons fan. Ain't nobody telling more 28-3 jokes than your boy. I go hard and heavy with those 28-3 jokes. Like, that's where I come from. That's what I do. We can tell 28-3 jokes together. But as soon as them 28-3 jokes are over, we going to come right back to talking about how y'all went in there and lost. Now, and by the way, now that the Saints managed to lose, the Saints managed to lose a game that Matt Ryan was doing everything he could to help y'all win. Right? Matt Ryan was doing everything he possibly could to be like, hey, Saints, I would love to lose this game to my rival at the crib. Remember last year when everybody was trying to tell me that I had been wrong about Matt Ryan all these years? And it's not even really this that I had been wrong about Matt Ryan all these years because I am not the only person that had felt that way. But Matt Ryan had the season of his life. Everybody looked at him and was like, yo, man, he's balling. Good for Matt Ryan. But what you learned was, in the words of the great philosopher, man, you was who you was when you got here. He is the same exact dude that he had been prior, and that dude gives the ball away a bit. There he is. There he was, giving the ball away. Saints also wound up, I thought, in an interesting situation in this game where they have not been asking Drew Brees to go win games for them. And, I mean, to be fair on that, I don't think that's really an indictment of Drew Brees. Drew Brees, old as hell. Like, at some point, you stop putting the weight of your whole offense on some dude's arm. That is what they stopped doing, what Kamara allowed them to stop doing, except then Kamara wasn't there. And now, all of a sudden, you got to look a lot more like the Saints. Now, this isn't to say that Drew Brees played badly. That interception was certainly bad. But I wouldn't say that Drew Brees played badly in that game. But we are beyond the point in Drew Brees' career where you're going to be like, all right, buddy, carry us. Take us there. Get us through. We're not there anymore. We've been there before, but we're not there anymore. So when that dude gets hurt, you got to be like, all right, Drew, go make it happen? I don't know. And so what we do also then end up with is I've talked about the Falcons-Saints rivalry and how it's evolved and everything else. It has been marked really for the last 10 years by the quarterbacks. Drew Brees got there in 2006, and that, of course, the Brees-Peyton era ushered in something completely different for the Saints, right? Like, that's a whole changing of the guard in just about every way you could possibly imagine with that 2006 team. It's basically almost like they got a whole new team. You got that. But the last 10 years of this has been Brees Ryan. This is basically what this rivalry has been. Matt Ryan come out here and throw 3 interceptions, and Drew Brees throws the interception at the end. These other cats, man, they need to be out there on the field with their helmets off like, look at me, bro. We the future. We what this is. This is us. And now the Saints, after getting that big win last week against the Panthers that put them up in the division by that one game, Panthers got a tough one this weekend because they're playing against the Vikings, but it can be right back to that tie at first place. And quiet as it's kept, Tampa Bay let us down, a lot of us in our belief that the NFC South was going to wind up being the best division in the NFL. What do you know? Fast forward to now, and the NFC South has turned itself into the best division in the NFL. It's right there. Good for them. But let's get back to these Saints fans. Any of y'all out there, do any of y'all want to talk? I just want to be here to help. I mean, I understand that this is probably a really bad day for y'all. I get that totally. And the other part about it, to be fair to you Saints fans, is, except for those of y'all in Atlanta, it's not that bad a day for y'all because it's not like you going to work to deal with Falcons fans, right? Like, I get that. You don't have to worry about that. Y'all actually don't tend to inhabit that much of the same space, except for y'all in Atlanta. So, I know it's not going to be that level of painful for you, but I personally just want to know what it's like to be you today. It's a fair question to ask, right? And please tell me about 28-3. I'll laugh right along with you. You can ask anybody who knows me. You realize what high-quality content that we got for our radio show out of 28-3? Because I was the one who actually turned out to be right. See, that's the thing. Whenever the Falcons suffer some heartbreaking, miserable defeat, I'm right there to tell the jokes about the heartbreaking, miserable defeat. I just don't want y'all to participate because I don't want anybody getting this twisted, mixing it up, thinking that I'm one of y'all. It'd be wild every now and then, man. I just pop up on the internet, see people talking, and then I see them talking about Go Saints, and I'm like, what, you're one of those? It's disappointing. It's disheartening. I mean, people ain't even from there sometimes. Like, not that many of them. We talked about this already. We all talk about y'all, the Who Dat Nation. They know Who Dat Nation is, like from New Orleans to Mobile. I know who y'all are. I know where y'all come from. I know what y'all stand for. I know what y'all represent. That's fine. And last night, not really what you wanted. That being said, for the Saints, I will give them a certain measure of credit for this part. If nothing else, you guys definitely had the best-looking uniforms out there. I don't know what the hell they had the Falcons out there with. Like, this notion of the color rush, do you guys, actually get charged up about the color rush? Like, does anybody get excited about the color rush? Because they be having to come up with so many things to make the color rush thing happen, where I'm looking at the Falcons right there, and I'm like, yo, that looked like when you put some shoes in the Nike ID, and you had a great idea, and then you actually look at them, and you're like, ooh, nah, I don't really want to do that. As if the NFL is like, nah, go ahead, they'll buy it anyway. Like, are people buying some of these atrocious, ridiculous jerseys? They're red on red with the black in it. Are y'all buying those? I'm dead serious about that. Are you buying those? Because I feel like the NFL is just out here messing with people's eyes for money that people aren't actually spending. Maybe y'all are blind, too. Who's to say? All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming up next. Oh, in that game, forgot to tell you, Sean Payton and Devontae Freeman kind of sort of wound up in a brouhaha of sorts, not with each other, but in words and gestures. Find out what I mean on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app. Sirius
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So, seeing some of you Saints fans decided you wanted to call in and talk to me. I was hoping you would do that. Let's hit the phones to talk to Paul in Maryland. Paul, thanks for calling the Right Time.
Thanks, Bomani. Hey, I think you seriously underestimate how many people move away from Louisiana. As Saints fans,
fewer than every other state in America by percentage, but go ahead.
yeah, and how many people go and become Saints fans by going to LSU or Loyola and Tulane from out of state?
How many people you think that is? How many people you really think that is?
There's a lot of people turning over through those schools. Look, I live in Maryland. I'm a season ticket holder, and I have been since I got them from my dad. I grew up there. I moved away, joined the military. I see people here all the time at the grocery store with Saints gear on. I can't
all the time, huh?
And 3 or 4 people with Saints gear on their car.
All the time, huh?
All the time. Every weekend during football season, Bomani. I'm telling you.
They just like the Cowboys, huh?
Well, not quite, maybe, but they're getting there. I had a boss at my current place of employment who's from Kentucky. He was a reserve rear admiral. He carried a Saints cup around throughout the entire command. I mean, I think you just really underestimate, particularly when you try and downplay it to New Orleans to Mobile. I mean, that's really kind of underestimating.
Why are you defending yourself to me, Paul? Why are you allowing me to do this to you? Why are you allowing me to do this to you?
Because you may be right about the Falcons and 28-3.
Why have you allowed me to do this to you? Why did you let me play you on the radio in front of America? Thanks for calling, Paul. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Ooh, let's go to Robert from New Orleans. Robert, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo, this is Roderick.
My bad.
No problem, man. The Who That Nation does exist, bro.
It ain't no nation, man. It's just a bunch of people who live in different places. But go ahead.
No, I'm telling you, we have fans in Germany. I've had fans that we watched Tahiti when I was there. So I mean, there's people there that root for this team all over, man. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
You know what though? You made a good point. And one thing I do have to be fair about is I would acknowledge that there are probably fans of the Saints all over the world, like a handful here and there in different countries. And you know how them people got to Germany, don't you, Roderick? You know how they got there. They got there in the military. And Roderick, why'd they get there? Why'd they go to the military? Because why'd they go to the military? Same reason my daddy went to the military. That's right, to get the hell out of Dodge. That's the same reason my daddy went to the military and the rest of y'all. But I appreciate the call. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We'll get back to some of you salty Saints fans in a minute. But had a little incident yesterday. So Sean Payton did a little choke thing last night toward Devontae Freeman, and so that's the way that it has been interpreted. Now, unless Sean Payton tell it, he don't even know what y'all talking about.
Choke sign.
I don't remember that. Thank you.
Yeah, he does not remember. Devontae Freeman, on the other hand, here he is on WAGA-TV. Apparently he remembers.
I saw it. That man don't know nothing about choking. He ain't from where I'm from. He don't know about choking. But he a good competitor, so he probably the competes probably came out. But, we don't let that bother me, man. He don't know nothing about choking.
Did he say the competes? Can you play that one more time?
I saw it. That man don't know nothing about choking. He ain't from where I'm from. He don't know about choking. But he a good competitor, so he probably the competes probably came out. But
yeah, I've never heard of the competes. I do know this though. Devontae Freeman is from a place in Miami known as Pork and Beans, a.k.a. The Beans. I do not know very much about the Beans myself, but I do have a friend who taught him the Beans via Teach for America. The Teach for America likes to send people to go teach in places with names like the Beans. And he said he was teaching the Beans. He teaching like 3rd, 4th grade or something like that. Man, he said he had a kid stand up and explain to him one day, look here, mister, I'm from the Beans. She from the Beans. He from the Beans. And we just not about to do this today. Because they was all from the Beans. And now I'm curious as to what choking means in the Beans. He's like, he don't know what choking is. Whoa. Now, I can understand if you, Devontae Freeman, don't say you don't know what choking is because you're not about to choke because you're from the Beans, so you don't get scared. But I did come away from that very, interested in what it is that choke means there. Because if I learned anything in Miami, what you think a word means is not necessarily what they think a word means. No, he didn't call back. That was a different Jack from Maryland. Okay, I thought I was losing my mind. 888-729-3776, that's our telephone number. Let's talk to my man Big E in New Orleans. Big E, what's going on, man?
Bo, my man, I love you, Bo. I love you, man. Let me tell you something, how crazy it is down here, man. You want to know what it feels like to be down here? It's snowing in New Orleans. Can you believe that, bro?
That's the craziest thing in the world.
And look, the bottom line is it ain't no nation. I've been born and raised down here in New Orleans, but guess what? I'm Pittsburgh till I die. And understand this, Bo, these old fair weather fans down here, they'll love them long as they winning, but they hoot at and everything when they winning. But when they losing, you don't get a peep out of them, bro. That's all I got to say, bro. Thank you for letting me be. But one more thing. For us to beat Belichick and Tom Brady, Tomlin going to have to outcoach that boy, man. He's going to have to outcoach.
No,
all right, thank you, bro.
Hey, Big E, I appreciate it. That is one thing about the Steelers. All the good things I could probably say about Mike Tomlin, it sure does look like Belichick cooks him every time. Now, Belichick cooks just about everybody, but that is the indictment of Mike Tomlin, if there is one. It seemed like they go play the Patriots, the team they need to overcome, and they look like bums just about every time. All right, 888-729-3776. Say to the phone, talk to Jack in Maryland. Jack, thanks for calling the right time.
What's up, Bo? First, let me say something to Big E. Big E has to be the biggest sellout ever. The guy probably never been as far as Mississippi, but he's a Pittsburgh fan. Like, how do you explain that?
I will say this to Big E, though. Ryan Clark said the same thing about y'all being a bunch of fair weather fans, and he's from down there.
That doesn't make it so because Ryan Clark says it.
I'm just telling you, Big E ain't the biggest sellout necessarily. We got sellouts on the payroll as far as that. That's all I'm telling you is that he ain't the only person that say that about y'all.
The Who Dat Nation is a real thing. It's a fact. People love the Saints. It's not no fair weather. We've been rocking with the Saints from day one.
Word.
Period.
Word.
And it is all over.
Word.
And you're a closet Atlanta fan. And I know it's easy to just kind of brush it off like, oh, yeah, 28-3, and pretend like it doesn't bother you. But it does.
But it doesn't. But it doesn't. The most aggravating thing for y'all is you want to come back at me with Falcon slander, and I'll be like, partner, I'll join in with you. I'm off that narcotic. I don't understand why you're not happy for me being off that narcotic. And if you a Saints fan, would you ever want to be a Falcons fan? No. You would be recommending to them that they quit. I went ahead and quit, and you want to make me one because if you don't make me a Falcons fan, you ain't got no room to be victorious over me. Why don't you go put on a paper bag? I'm just saying, why don't you go put on a paper bag? Jack, I appreciate the call. That's what we need to do, man. We need to come up with our own line of right time paper bags, and we can send them out to all the Saints fans. Like, you call in and win some contest, and some of y'all would want to wear them paper bags. Y'all would totally want that. Damn, Bomani sent me a paper bag. And then you can watch the game in peace. Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. By the way, what I just did right there, Saints fans, is I totally manipulated you to fill out an entire segment of content that I myself did not have. Who dat?
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha. Night. Oh, I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Oh, man, salty Saints fans still chiming in there. I've been kind of antagonizing you Saints fans after you lost that game to the Falcons, as I know that is when you feel the most pain. Therefore, I would like to kick you while you were down. Someone who calls himself NOLA Nutrition says, you managed to fire up Saints fans. Congratulations. Odd how you're from Atlanta, but have apparently abandoned your hometown team. Must be nice to be a fair weather fan. By the way, let's see what you say after the Saints win the division. Number one, actually, I'm from Houston. Number two, yes, I abandoned all them sorry teams. I had no problem with doing that because my identity is not so much tied up in that. I got tired of the relationship that I was in with them, so I went on about my business, and I've actually been much happier as a result. Number three, you lost last night to the Falcons. You should have walked around to work with a paper bag on your face. I can't even see your face right here, so basically your Twitter account already has a paper bag on. So why don't you take that logo for NOLA Nutrition off of there and replace it with what it really is, which is a paper bag, as you hide your funny-looking face. Speaking of New Orleans, you guys may have seen a thing the other day where Kevin Durant and Boogie Cousins had a little thing on the court. I don't know what to call it. It was far short of a brouhaha. It looked like your standard NBA. Don't nobody really want to fight until somebody get all between them, and then all of a sudden somebody wants to fight. And so we just kind of laughed it off. We had Steven Jackson on yesterday, and he talked about how he doesn't understand how it is that people think that Kevin Durant's a punk because he knows cats from Maryland, and he don't really know no punks from Maryland, and all of that might be true. And I'm absolutely, to be clear, not saying that Kevin Durant is a punk in any sort of situation. I am saying, though, that we later found out that people who were like, well, him and Boogie are just cool anyway. Apparently, Boogie was not cool for long. There was a photograph taken in the tunnel. I was going to call it backstage, but that's not really what it is. The bowels of the arena. How about that? And the picture is Boogie Cousins trying to go find Kevin Durant. And this is here from a story from the New York Times that says, quote, Cousins was storming down the hallway in search of Durant, who was making his way off the court after his ejection and toward the locker room. Security officers, aware that trouble was brewing, quickly diverted Durant into a small corridor as others slowed Cousins' progress. Hold on. Let's get to the point of emphasis here. Quickly diverted Durant to a small corridor as several others slowed Cousins' progress. I don't know about you, but that sounds like they got cold Boogie at the arena, where they're like, yo, if he wilds out, what we're going to do is we're going to take the cat he's coming from and we're just going to push him off somewhere else and just have him walking around. He walking around like Evander Holyfield in that Sports Center commercial. Charlie, come get your whooping. Right? Like he is stalking the hallway, and they're like, yo, get this dude out of here, man. Get this dude out of here. Now, if you have not seen the picture, I believe Warriors Talk on Twitter has the picture. Go find that picture. And the reason that you need to see that picture is they got one security dude who comes out there, and Boogie's coming toward him, and that dude's eyes are big as saucers. He's like, what in the world am I supposed to do now? What am I going to do? Because here's the thing about arena security. I'm gonna give you a story from when I was younger and use it as an analogy here. So I did a summer program once at a college. I think this was before my senior year of high school. And this janitor was walking around the library. There's a bunch of high school students there, So the janitor is coming around the library, and he's salty, right? He mad as hell. And he like, I find out who did this. I'm going to report you when I find out who did this. And, of course, we find this funny because we're teenagers. It's this angry older dude who, by the way, after looking at him, I now realize as I've gotten older, probably did time, and we really didn't want no problems with him. Anyway, he was like, I'll go report you. And what he said happened was that somebody had, left some boo-boo on the floor in the bathroom. And I remember I was talking to somebody about that, and they told me, because they had actually been a janitor before, and they were like, look, the janitor's job isn't to clean up stuff like that. The janitor's job is just to tidy up around you. It's not to clean up after you. It's to tidy up for regular wear and tear type stuff. I mention that because much like it's not the janitor's job to clean up after you, it is also not security's job to stop Boogie Cousins from fighting people, right? That dude is there wearing a yellow blazer. Now, if that dude has showed up wearing a tight black shirt and some black pants, maybe even a black blazer on top of that, okay, maybe his job as security would involve stuff like getting in front of Boogie Cousins. When your job involves wearing a yellow blazer and a walkie-talkie, that's not what you came to work trying to do that day. So you imagine that. You just a regular old arena security guy. You just trying to stop the groupies from getting to places they're not supposed to. You come out there and Boogie Cousins starts coming toward you. Hey, man, I feel like Kevin Durant need to settle that for himself. I don't care if you call my manager about it. But look, man, I just thought about it. And if I was Kevin Durant, I wouldn't want nobody thinking I was no punk hiding behind security, so I allowed him to take the man's way out. Like that's my approach under those circumstances if Boogie Cousins is coming through there. No. The regular old security guard in the yellow blazer, I don't feel like he's equipped for the I'm going to stop Boogie Cousins program. I don't think it's there. I would also like to know, by the way, while they were whisking Kevin Durant away to another corridor as though they found out that like somebody had gotten past security and the president was in the house, I want to know what is going through his mind when you hear like, nah, man, Boogie wasn't playing. Like Durant just thought this was going to be something, I was frustrated. He was frustrated. We was just expressing our frustrations. And Boogie Cousins is like, I am going to break your face. I don't feel like there's a chance for Durant to win that fight. Why? Because Boogie Cousins obviously has a much greater deal of want to in that circumstance than Kevin Durant does. And the winner of the fight is often has something to do with weight class and stuff like that and training, but want to. Like, you land that first punch, you got a chance. I believe we had Steven Jackson on yesterday, and he said that about learn from Chris Childs. You land them first 2 punches, you going to win an NBA fight. Thing with Boogie Cousins is Boogie Cousins lands 2 punches. He may win the NBA fight, but he's probably going to lose the trial. Because there might be a trial. And it might be a felony. Because they in different weight classes. Yeah. But imagine that being security. What you telling Boogie? Like, hey, baby, you got to fall back right now, man. Like, I feel like your appeal to Boogie Cousins if he's trying to fight Kevin Durant at that moment is like, say, bro, look, man, I'm just out here trying to do my job, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't come here to do all of this, man. We ain't done nothing to you. We gonna get in trouble with the manager if you keep this up, man. Just chill out a little bit. They got some gumbo over there in the other room. You get you some of that, and everything going to be all right. Because if there's anything that I can tell you, and I really can't tell you this so much firsthand because I long ago knew this rule, but a lot of my friends who have unfortunately taken bottles to the head, unfortunately been kicked in the face, all kinds of stuff like that, there's one thing, but I don't want to talk about what that one thing is right now. But there is nothing but one thing in this world that is more overrated than breaking up fights. I'm sure it makes people feel very noble when they go and break up fights. And if you're like in a situation involving some kids or something like that, or you could get to the fight before it starts, then go ahead and break that bad boy up. But if the fight has already started, no. I ain't really trying to break up no fight that is in progress. Like, I feel like that's the job of a referee, and you got to go to like classes and stuff like that to learn how to be a referee, don't you? Like, am I wrong there? Like you just let any old body be a referee. You got to qualify to be a referee. Like, if you're not giving me in fact, that's what the security should have said. Say, bro, somebody go get a referee. I think they took a fight breaking up class into being a referee. I'm just here trying to make sure don't nobody steal nothing. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. DJ Mike Hitman, what's going on?
Hey, Bo.
Yeah, man.
You know I live in Chicago, right?
Yes.
You know I play in that Who That Nation is, right?
Yes.
I walk in the store, what do I have to do? The lady said 15 cents for a brown paper bag. Who That Nation is the reason that America got paper bags because they lost so many games. And the lady said, who is that Who That Nation? New Orleans Saints. I had to type it up on a YouTube and show it. She said, oh, that's why we pay for bags. That's why we pay for paper bags. It's coming to your town, my town, everybody else's town. Get ready. 15 cents. Blame Who That Nation. And, Bo, by the way, those guys wasn't going to fight. I know when you're going to see a fight. Boogie Cousins, man, they weren't going to fight. I'm going to tell you what's a fight. When I went all the way to Indiana to get a champagne glass and into the house, and the lady and the father was in the house, told the lady to sit down, told the father to shut up, and the police was on my side. That's a fight. When you got the parents to respect you, to go drive an hour drive to go get a champagne glass that I put my milk and olive in and somebody stole. That's a fight. I ain't had no problem after that.
But, Mike, y'all didn't fight that dude. I was listening while that happened. Y'all managed to avoid the fight.
We didn't have to fight. What I say, shut up and sit down.
Yeah. Good game. I thought Good Game was going to fight, though. You had to calm him down for real.
Yeah, I had to calm him down. You know why? You do not take a man's champagne glass with milk and olive in. The best drink you could ever buy, milk and olive at the bar. It's only $1. It's cheap, but it's worth it. Another thing, folks, I heard you and that guy. He from Buffalo, you in New York. That fur coat. Spend some money, baby. They don't do that. New Jack City. Wear that coat. This here Washington side. Them bears look good on you, baby. I got a couple of them. If you want one, I'll give you one. You and Shannon. And then another thing, but when that guy's doing the pick, he like my man. Have some music, some nice music in the background. You know, make the pick. And then he's wrong. The Rams going to win. I'm going to get you. The Rams going to win that game against Philadelphia. High pick like that, you need music, Bo. And when it's cold outside, women love it because you get close up and keep it warm. Have a good day, Bo.
All right, Mike. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, look like some of y'all got stories about breaking up fights. Also, did you know Babe Ruth might be coming to Major League Baseball? I didn't learn about this dude till before the show. I'll tell you about him. He's from Japan on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
This holiday season, the best deals are at 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order the Holiday Light Roses Bouquet, you'll get double the flowers at no extra cost. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. I was talking about the security guards that was in the tunnel at the Smoothie King Arena in New Orleans trying to stop Boogie Cousins from fighting Kevin Durant and how breaking up fights is overrated. Got somebody that seems to agree with me. Let's hit the phone, talk to Sean in D.C. Sean, thanks for calling the right time.
How you doing, Bo?
Doing all right, man.
I got a story for you. I used to bartend in D.C. back when Chocolate City was Chocolate City, and we had our urban night and our international night. International night, I was the only black bartender in the club, black male, that is. If you've ever been to an international party, you know the Latinos get down and party hard. So I'm partying. I'm pouring up the drinks. I see a fight start to break out. I'm a bartender, but when a fight breaks out, that's messing with my money. I can't have people messing with my money, so I jump in to help security. This is back when smoking legally was allowed in the clubs. So I'm breaking up the fight, and in the midst of breaking up the fight and pulling girls' hair apart, I get caught with one of those old ashtrays in the head. That was the last time I jumped my black tail over the bar to break up a fight.
Yeah, man. So it was women fighting, and you still caught an ashtray.
Women fighting, and I caught an ashtray.
Yeah, man. That's the one thing, though, in those circumstances, and I appreciate the call, man. Like, anytime I've seen women fight in the club, tools were used. Whatever was nearby. If y'all know anything about Atlanta, there used to be a club called 559 that was over there off in the West End. And I remember the first time we went to 559, I was 18 years old. I was on somebody else's ID. We got in that bad boy. And 559 was free all night for women, and it was like free for dudes until 11. But the problem was they were letting any woman into 559. Like, adulthood was stretched very broadly in terms of their admission standards. But anyway, we walk up in there, and I just remember that the first thing I saw, man, after about 10 minutes of being there, these two women got in a fight, and I ain't never seen anybody pick up a chair more smoothly. Like, she had a future in the WWE, the way she picked up that chair and swung that thing. Bow! Caught old girl in the back. And I was like, oh, yeah, no. They are not here for fighting fair. No. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. All right, so are you guys familiar with Shohei Ohtani? I had been seeing people talk about him. He's a Japanese baseball star, and they were talking about all the teams that were trying to get him on the program and everything else. Now, I want you to hear what Buster Olney has to say about the tools that the young man has.
He, as a pitcher, he's a high-end guy, throws 101 miles an hour, and you can find the clips on YouTube of how great his breaking stuff is. His command is, still a work in progress. As a hitter, he's got power. He's 6'3", hits the ball left center field. He's thought to be a better pitcher than he is a hitter, and he's been clocked running to first base as fast as Mike Trout. So he's the total package in terms of being an athlete. I mean, let's say for argument's sake that the pitching thing didn't work out. He certainly would have the tools to try to be to transition into a full-time hitter, which is why so many general managers are telling me that his value would have been off the charts if he had just waited.
Do you hear how casually Buster Olney said, like, they think he's a better pitcher than he is a hitter, but the idea is that he is, in fact, a major league hitter? Like, dude, Babe Ruth apparently has just shown up to the major leagues. I am totally intrigued by this. He also apparently could have got a whole lot more money if he had waited a couple years so you wouldn't have to go through this posting process because he's 23, and if you're 25, you then don't have to go through this process. But, I'm here to check this out, and I also think that something that is very, very interesting about this is if this were the mid-1990s or even the early part of the last decade with the Japanese player coming over with that sort of profile, that dude is instant phenomenon. I don't know how this works in baseball now, but I feel like if you got a dude that is like a major league caliber hitter and pitcher in this way, and that doesn't register, then, oh, man, ain't nothing going to do it. Nothing's going to do it. I'd also like to know who the young man has advising him. And the reason I'd like to know who it is that the young man has advising him is he is going to go to the Angels. And as I have told you guys many times, I have a friend who he and I have talked about the Angels over the years, and we used to refer to the Angels as the place where free agents go to die, except the problem was we looked up and found, like, actual free agents who had gone there and then died. But their track record of signing free agents and what happens to them afterwards. I mean, I guess Albert Pujols is still out there hitting home runs a little bit, but that ain't the dude they thought that they were signing to that 50-year contract that they gave him. And this is something that's gone on with the Angels for decades. I guess Vladimir Guerrero worked out. Didn't they get him as a free agent? I feel like that's the one that has worked out for them. Good luck, young fella, because that's not the place to go if you sign a contract. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We talked to y'all about that time y'all broke up a fight and learned that was a bad idea. Sit the phone, talk to Mike in Palm Springs. Mike, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, what's going on, Bo?
Doing all right, man.
Mine isn't necessarily a breaking up a fight, but about my dad breaking up a fight. I'm one of 5 kids. I got an older brother who's 5 years older than me, and my younger brother's 3 years younger than me. So I would always raid my brother's closet because he worked at the mall, Carl Kanai, Jabot jeans.
Oh, yeah. You good? No, we lost him. That's too bad. But D from Tennessee got a story. D, thanks for calling the right time. D.
Hey, all right, man. So real quick story, man. So me and my man were in college, and he got a girlfriend named Keisha. Well, he was messing with this other girl named Bianca at the time, and, I did my friendly duty. I said, hey, man, listen. If it was me, I would start rocking with Bianca. Keisha's a nice girl. He's like, oh, man, I got it. I'm going to play. I'm cool. Okay, all right, man, no problem. So me and him coming back from class one day, we see 2 cars parked in front of our apartment. I'm like, damn. He said, man, that's Keisha and Bianca's car. I was like, hey, man, if it was me, dog, don't go in there. He's like, nah, man, I'm playing like a G. So we walk in the house. At the time, Keisha in there cooking some noodles and Bianca sitting on the couch. Long story short, man, these 2 girls start jumping on my boy. I get the smart idea, man, this ain't right. Let me try to break this up. I go to break it up. Keisha grabbed that pot of noodles, man, throws it all on my J's. Burned my ankle up. I had to go to the ER. Terrible, man, terrible. So word of advice, especially when it comes to relationships and your boy and his girls, don't break it up, man. You did your part by just saying, hey, don't rock with that, and that's it, man.
Hold up, bro. You caught an Al Green case with some oodles and noodles?
Man, with some beef.
Wow. Yo, D, I appreciate the call. And she messed up your J's. Yeah, no. Your partner had to pay for them J's, by the way, and medical care.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
All guests join us on the Shell Penzo Performance Line, just like our next guest covered the NFL for Sports Illustrated. His name is Jonathan Jones. Now, John, you were at the game last night. Was this a matter of the Saints offense just being totally different without Alvin Kamara?
Well, that was a big reason why, right? I mean, when you look at what they were doing with Alvin Kamara throughout this entire season, and he goes out on that series. Deion Jones, by the way, who laid that hit on Alvin Kamara, that dude is a hitter. I don't think people talk about him enough. That guy will lay a hit on somebody. But this Saints offense, obviously, with what Alvin Kamara can do in the pass game, of course, in the run game, you'll remember the second play of the game, Atlanta just forgot to cover him out there on that 20-some-yard pass from Drew Brees. And so if they have Alvin Kamara, I don't see how they don't capitalize more on Matt Ryan's 3 interceptions in 4 throws because, of course, the field goal, that was a fluke. But then when you look at how they scored on the other one, they didn't turn into points on the 3rd interception, but they were really going to roll on the Falcons with that offense. I've been very impressed with them. They got to get Kamara back next week.
Now, where are you on the 2017 version of Drew Brees? Is this a guy the Saints can count on to carry them as he has for so many years?
I think so. I mean, listen, he made a very poor decision there at the end of the game. And then, of course, Sean Payton made a very poor decision at the end of the game to ensure that Drew Brees wasn't going to get the ball back. But, no, I think that Brees still has it. There's no doubt about it. Tom Brady's the best that's ever done it. But Drew Brees, at his age, is still right there keeping pace, and he's having to do a lot less. We talk about, when we look at Tom Brady, how much he's having to do with that offensive unit. Drew Brees is having to do a lot less in his advanced age, so I absolutely believe that he's been saving his arm. If you look back last year, the ball wasn't wobbly in December for Drew Brees like it was, let's say, a Phillip Rivers, where he just lost his arm strength there late in the season. Drew Brees kept a tight spiral last year, and you're going to see that with how much he saved his arm this year.
All right, we're talking to John Jones of SI here on The Right Time. Now, overall in the Falcons, how good a team do you think that is?
Look, I wanted to see more progress out of that defense because, you had the Grady Jarrett, you have Vic Beasley, who I think last year might have been a bit of an anomaly when it comes to sacks. You want more consistency out of Desmond Trufant, who has not been able to catch an interception in his entire career. All that said, they have very good pieces, and they're built for sustained success. I think there was a little too much made out of Steve Sarkisian. If you remember when Kyle Shanahan came in, that offense was in shambles. It took a while in that first year, and then things got clicking in the second year. I think Sarkisian was able to pick up where they left off. People were giving Sark, a tough time because of what happened against the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. But listen, this looks a lot like the same Falcons team. You have some strange losses. They shouldn't have lost to Miami at home. They shouldn't have lost to Buffalo at home. Julio Jones shouldn't have dropped that touchdown catch in Carolina. That happened last year where they gave the game away to the Chiefs at home. They had a couple of other strange losses, but they still rounded into shape in December, and that's what we're seeing right now with that win against New Orleans.
All right, now for New Orleans, did you see any cause for concern, or is this a matter of two NFL teams, one of them's got to lose?
One of them's got to lose. And, I had mentioned this as soon as the game was over. And then, of course, Drew Brees had his quote after the game that, listen, Thursday Night Football is going to wear you down. Every great Thursday Night Football game, I'm always like, man, I wonder what that would have been like if these cats hadn't just played 100 snaps 3 days prior. And so, when it comes to that game, either team was going to win that game. I'm very excited for what's going to happen in 2 weeks when they have the rematch in New Orleans when the Saints run all black.
All right, we're talking to John Jones of SI here on The Right Time. Now, we've heard a lot this year about Marshawn Lattimore and the impact he's had on the Saints defense. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, so I wrote about him for SI.com earlier this week. I think that he is a standout rookie corner. I was talking with Steve Smith last week about him. I was just kind of off the record. Steve, what do you think about him? He's like, ooh, he's the real deal. I thought that Steve was going to talk some trash about him because, Steve has some trash to talk about just about everybody. And he was quick to offer praise to Marshawn Lattimore, and I say that only because he said exactly what he told me on television last night. That guy, he is a great press man, cover corner. I talked to Charles Woodson, said the same thing about him. And he's working on his zone abilities, and he cannot miss tackling. He missed for the first time on a tackle last night against Julio Jones, and Julio Jones has made a lot of cats miss over the years. I very much like Marshawn Lattimore. And listen, you'll remember back in the spring when the Saints were trying to get Malcolm Butler away from the Patriots, they don't have to worry about trading for another corner. They have it in Marshawn Lattimore. And then when you look around at the other guys they have, Marcus Williams and Ken Crawley, this team, this defense, all you have to do is be decent on defense to give Drew Brees a chance into January. They've had a very, very bad defense for the past 4 years, and we've seen 7-9. Now they have a middle-of-the-road defense with some studs like Cameron Jordan and Marshawn Lattimore, and that will help you get into January ball.
All right, to switch gears just a little bit, you have spent a lot of time around the Carolina Panthers. What do you think about this matchup they've got this week against the Vikings?
It's going to be tough. Cam's never really been good under pressure. The Vikings are going to be bringing it. That defense is for real. You remember last year at the beginning of the season, Cam got sacked, I think, 8 times by the Vikings at home. They're going to keep bringing it. I know that a lot of people may not necessarily take the Vikings seriously because they haven't seen a lot of them, because they have Case Keenum starting at quarterback. This Vikings team is absolutely for real. Now, I don't know how Case is going to do, on the road in the playoffs. He may not have to be on the road in the playoffs the way that they're playing. I think that Minnesota is going to pick up that win. That doesn't mean that Carolina is a bad team. When you look at the teams they've lost to, twice to New Orleans, they lost to Philadelphia without Luke Kuechly. They had that fluke loss to Chicago. Outside of that, they've lost to 10-win teams. And so if they lose to another 10-win team, that doesn't mean that they're garbage. I still think that they're a wild card team that could sneak out a wild card win, get to the divisional round, and then they're going to have some trouble against the Philly, against the Minnesota, against the New Orleans.
Now, do we have anything to point to explain the inconsistency of Cam Newton this year beyond physical things?
Not really, because, he's always been inconsistent, save for that 2015 season that was magical, right? That kind of does stand out as an outlier. And listen, that doesn't mean that he's a poor quarterback. It doesn't mean that he's a below-average quarterback. He is an above-average quarterback. He is a great quarterback. I will not say elite, but he is a great quarterback. But that's always been the book on Cam, that he's going to be inconsistent. Now, I do not mean Jameis Winston inconsistent, because that guy has got to stop just handing the ball over as soon as somebody has him in his grasp. But what I mean is, you're going to get a game where he's going to throw 2 picks and only 140 yards. That's been the case since 2011. All through, and it doesn't really matter if he's playing the Seahawks defense or he's playing some team that's going to win 6 games this season. He's going to be inconsistent, but he's also going to give you those 300-yard games. There was a stretch there, about a 2.5-game stretch where they beat the Patriots and were really rolling, where he was playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. and then he went back to his inconsistency. But you roll with Cam if you're the Carolina Panthers because he is a top 7 quarterback in this league.
And can you think of anybody else? I guess Russell Wilson is now the guy where the run game and the pass game is built around one guy in the ways that there is.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be Russell, which I love this stat, and it boggles my mind, and I think it's about to change this season. Russell Wilson, for how amazing that as he's been, 2 Super Bowls as early as he went there, his play in November and December especially, how no one's going up to Seattle in November and December and beating Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. He has never gotten a single MVP vote in his career. I think that's about to change. Tom Brady may be your MVP, but you've got to take a hard look at what Russell Wilson does, because not only is he playing outstanding football, but if you want to put an emphasis on the V, on value, you extract Russell Wilson from that Seattle Seahawks team, and we're not talking about any type of playoffs for Pete Carroll.
All right, that is Jonathan Jones. Check him out, cover the NFL for SI. My man, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Bo.
All right, now ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, comparing rates to help you save. Now, that's Progressive. Call or click today and find out how much Progressive can save you.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
We got a lot of NFL games coming up this weekend. Hey, shout out to the NFL on this, by the way. Maybe it's just random happenstance, whatever it is. But we went through a bunch of weeks where we were like, man, I don't want to watch none of those games. Last week, we had good games at the 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. At the 8 o'clock, and one for Monday Night Football. This week, the Monday Night Football game isn't so grand. I believe it's New England and Miami. But Sunday, hey, man, we got 2 winners at the 1 o'clock. We got 2 winners at the 4 o'clock. And we got a good one at the 8:30. We got, Vikings, Panthers. We got Raiders, Chiefs. We got Eagles, Rams. We got Seahawks, Jaguars. And we got the Ravens and the Steelers. Though I have to acknowledge, Raiders, Chiefs isn't actually a good game. It's just kind of important in that division that has proven itself to be far more mediocre than any of us would have believed to begin the year. Seahawks Jaguars is going to be one, though. I don't know if you guys saw this, by the way. Some poor reporter had to feel bad for him. Seahawks playing the Jaguars, and he started asking Pete Carroll about Gus Bradley, because Gus Bradley used to be the defensive coordinator in Seattle, and Gus Bradley used to be the head coach of the Jaguars, but this reporter didn't realize that Gus Bradley used to be the head coach of the Jaguars. He used to be. That's Doug Marrone now. Yeah. And then Pete was like, yeah, I think Gus is doing a good job with the Chargers. I feel so bad for that reporter, because I had to feel like he got punched in the stomach. But anyway, Eagles-Rams, this is one. Now, the thing with me with the Eagles is I'm not sure how good they are. In spite of the record, I'm not sure how good they are, as I think they've beaten up on a litany of fairly mediocre teams. I feel a lot better about the Rams. In the times I've seen the Rams, I felt like I was watching a more impressive team than I felt when I was watching the Eagles. But this is going to, I think, go a long way to tell us a lot about either team. Another one with the Eagles, and where it gets to be interesting, is that the Eagles have stayed on the West Coast, so you don't have the travel concerns that you ordinarily have. And I guess you could argue they had last week when they played the game against Seattle. Those teams traveling from either east to west and west to east were asking for a lot of them. But I feel like this is what the NFL needs. We are now in the midst of a stretch that is unlike what much of this season has been, because now we're actually here talking about football. The actual games. And with the NFL, as much as they kind of like it when we talk about them all year long and the surrounding issues and everything else, that came back this year to bite them in the keister, right? Now they need us just be no, just focus on the football. You like us a whole lot more when you just focus on the football. As we try to get into, get you interested because of lifestyle stuff, you realize the lifestyle surrounding this is actually not that great. No, we just want you guys talking about football, just about football. And I got to say, now that there's kind of just football to talk about, it is a bit more entertaining. I'm no longer furious with the owners, at least not to the point where I notice it every time I watch the game. A lot of you suckers aren't furious with the players anymore, which, kind of brought out something that was dormant within your soul that you might want to get checked out. But whatever. It's a lot easier for you. And now we got these games. I'm a little disappointed, though, in the Chiefs game against the Raiders. Marcus Peters is not going to play because the Chiefs have just had enough of his shenanigans behavior. And then we go on the other side. Amari Cooper will not be playing in the game for the Raiders. And goodness knows Derek Carr need all the help he can get, as Derek Carr is not really doing that much right now to help himself, which I'm assuming is tied to that back injury or whatever injury it was that he came back way too soon from. That's one thing about the NFL that I do think is interesting, is that a guy comes back and plays when he's hurt, and we totally forget about the fact that he ever got hurt. And then we start talking about how the dude is done or whatever it is, or he's just not that good, so forth and so on. Carr's out here, I think it was a 2 to 6 week injury. He came back in a week, and we can't figure out why it is that he looks sorry. How'd that work? 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Now, staying with these NFL games, I think it is pretty interesting. Not so much interesting at this point because it's gone on for so long. But how many of y'all would have bet started this season that the Jaguars would be playing the Seahawks and the Jaguars would be favored? I don't care if they were playing at home or not. The Jaguars have Blake Bortles at quarterback, and they are favored over the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, I feel like we are not giving them enough credit for what the run of consistency is that they've had basically since the 2012 season. It's not just that they've been consistently good. It's not just they keep going to the playoffs. It's that the games are almost entirely within one score. Like, they are so difficult to put away, and now, in spite of the injuries they have in the secondary, in spite of Sherman being hurt, in spite of Cam Chancellor being hurt, Earl Thomas is back, but I'm assuming he's still dinged up with the stuff that he was injured with before. They're still getting it done. They don't have a running back that can get a touchdown for himself. Russell Wilson just strapped the squad on his back like he's back at NC State and is making it happen. Like, what they're doing this year is really kind of Patriots-esque, and I think the Patriots have kind of messed it up for us in terms of the way that we look at the Seahawks because the Patriots have been doing this now for like 17 years. The fact that the Seahawks are doing this for as long as they have in this salary cap era is every bit as impressive as it was when the Patriots did it during, like, for this kind of time period. And we were very impressed by the Patriots when they did it for this sort of time period. It's just that the Seahawks are doing this while the Patriots are still getting it done. But don't sleep for a second. The run of consistency that they've managed to have as that division, by the way, which at different points has been pretty good. All the teams have rotated up and been decent, which is a different thing than you could say about the AFC East, where it's just kind of perpetually mediocre. Seahawks are getting it done. They're also underdogs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yeah, didn't see that coming. We also have Ravens Steelers going tonight. Now, I said earlier that the Falcons and the Saints is the best rivalry in the NFL. A whole lot of people got upset with me, and they said that actually it is Ravens Steelers that's the best rivalry in the NFL. And I would say that Ravens Steelers, if you were talking strictly about the football, you are probably right. But the comparison that I would make on that is, I think if you ask most people in America what the best college basketball rivalry is, most of them would say Carolina and Duke. And they would say Carolina and Duke in large part because of the fact that the game is always nationally relevant, which I'm sure is an attractive thing to people who don't have, like, a dog in the fight when it comes to the game itself. So I totally understand where people are coming from on that one. And I spent 10 years living in Durham, North Carolina, so I have a very intimate understanding and acquaintance with that rivalry. It is great. I enjoy it very much. It's so hilariously petty. Decidedly bourgeois, but hilariously petty nonetheless. But Kentucky-Louisville is the best rivalry in college basketball. Now, you can talk about which one is more storied because they had that long stretch of time where Kentucky and Louisville didn't play each other. You know, you can talk about all those things. But it means something just a little bit different to the people involved in that one. And I'm not saying that Carolina-Duke does not mean something, because it does. It's a 365-day sort of thing. But after that game is over, people kind of go back to their lives. Kentucky-Louisville, they go back to getting ready for playing this game again next year, and just in a much different way. So to me, Falcons-Seahawks is a better rivalry, not just because of the football, but because of some of the fun stuff that is around it. Steelers-Ravens, you know, it's good. Strictly football, playing twice a year. I don't think you get anything better. And we get that on Sunday Night Football. Way to give me something I can appreciate, NFL. You've been coming up slack this year, but here you go. Try to redeem yourself at the end of the year like you want me to buy you a Christmas present. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. We were talking a little bit earlier about these security guards who had to try to stop DeMarcus Cousins from going to fight Kevin Durant. And I said, I'm not really in this business of breaking up fights, and it's the worst idea you could have. And a lot of you have been calling in with stories that verify that breaking up fights is wildly overrated. Let's hit the phone and talk to Kevin in Delaware. Kevin, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo, how you doing? Man, I got the best breakup fight ever, Bo. I played Division I football at a prominent school in the Northeast. It's in two-a-days. You know how two-a-days goes. It gets hot, everybody's tired, sweaty, fight breaks out. Starting offensive tackle against starting defensive tackle. Now, let me just set the stage for you. The starting offensive tackle was one of the head coach's favorites.
Ooh.
Starting defensive tackle was one of the head coach's nightmares.
Ooh.
So let's just say the defensive tackle is getting the best of the offensive tackle. Our head coach goes and jumps into the middle of the fight that breaks it up. The D tackle notices our head coach is in the scrum. All of a sudden, his angle of punches turn from the offensive tackle to the head coach.
No.
At that point, Bo, everybody is diving in to break up the fight.
Whoa! They kind of got to save him from himself at that point.
Say it again, Bo. I'm sorry.
I guess he had to save him from himself at that point.
Oh, no, Bo. We had to say the head coach. The D-tackle switched angles and was going at the coach.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. You had to save your D-tackle from getting kicked off the team.
Oh, yes.
So here's what I want to know. How do we work this out with me and you can get in touch so you can tell me where this was?
Very easily, Bo. Very easy. You tell me how to get a hold of you, and I will send it to you.
Go to my Twitter. Go to my Twitter profile and hit the link that's in the profile and just drop me a note because I have a sneaky suspicion I know who caught it. Wow, Kevin from Delaware. Wow, yo. By the way, stories of college football players fighting their coaches a little bit more prominent than a lot of you would realize. And they can go either way. But the moral of the story, don't fight the strength coach. Whatever you do, don't fight the strength coach. Because you know what a very important part of the job of being a strength coach is? Staying ready. Because your job is to get people mad enough to want to fight you, but instead decide to fight some weights. You have to stay ready. Just like UCLA. You want to know why UCLA was so bad at football? Their strength coach lost a fight to Diddy.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. He's an NBA insider for us here at ESPN. His name is Bobby Marks. Now, Bobby, you wrote a piece about how long the Warriors can afford to keep this run going, given the salary cap in the NBA. So how long do you think it's really feasible for them to keep this up with the talent they have?
Well, I think it depends on – I think that's an answer for Joe Lake up there. I think finances will certainly come into play. I think they've got to hit on some of these draft picks that I alluded to in the piece. I know, Clay and Draymond and Steph recently, but they besides Patrick McCall and Jordan Bell, they haven't been fortunate in the first round. But the cost is going to get up there. I mean, this is kind of the precursor to 2019 when Clay's a free agent, Draymond's a free agent the following year, and we're looking at possibly a $400 million team. Can they do it? Yeah, of course they can, but your depth might take a little bit of a blow right now.
Now, just to be clear, did you say a $400 million team?
I did, because what's going to happen is they'll be in the repeater tax, and the tax penalty, they're paying about $32 million this current year. That almost doubles, the tax bill that in 2019 will be about $225 million, $170 million in salary plus. You could have Durant as a max, Curry as a max, Thompson as a max, and that doesn't even take into the fact that Thompson would be, that super max eligible this offseason if he earns all NBA. So those are the decisions that they're going to weigh down. And even if they wanted to go to discount route that KD did this past summer, it's still going to cost them probably over $150 million in luxury tax penalties. So that's the decision they have to weigh. The cost of winning, on the court right now, or, try to put another banner up there.
All right, we're talking to Bobby Marks of ESPN here on The Right Time. And I guess it's fair to say that this is what the collective bargaining agreement was designed to do, right?
That's what it makes owners make it. It's a hard decision there. You're going to see it in Oklahoma City. You're going to see what happens if this team kind of hovers around 500 for the remainder of the season, gets into the playoffs, as a 6 seed or a 5 seed. And, I mean, they're in the same boat next year from a repeater tax standpoint. I mean, you could look at a tax bill of $120-130 million penalty for this group. And that's it's the cost of being good but not great. And I think that's where Oklahoma City's we're trending towards with them right now.
All right, now you just mentioned Oklahoma City, and I've been curious about this, that they have a short time horizon to figure out if this pair of guys, three guys they have together, can work. When something slow starts like this in the NBA, normally attention goes to the head coach. Like, how safe do you think Billy Donovan would be, given that they kind of need to hold this thing together?
Well, he's fortunate that Chris Wallace from the Grizzlies is his GM right now, right?
Right.
Can you imagine that? He would probably be on the street right now. And I give Sam Presti a lot of credit. Their general manager in Oklahoma City from a patience level, because there are a lot of teams that would have probably pulled the trigger by now. And I saw it in Brooklyn that year in 13-14 after we did that Boston trade, and we got off to an 8-19 start. And what happens is that it starts to divide. You have management and then you have coaches. You get into a little bit of a blame game, which is not going on in Oklahoma City. Management saying, I got you these players. The coaching staff saying they're not good enough there. And you haven't seen that in Oklahoma City. And I think they're going to play this out here. And You'll get into the conversation probably post-Jan 1 with Paul George. If this team is still struggling about the future of him there, I don't think you can do much with Carmelo. The bench is not as good as I thought it would be. You know, Patrick Patterson coming off off-season knee surgery, Raymond Felton. Now you're relying on some of your younger players, Terrence Ferguson. I mean, last night we got when was the last time you got a Kyle Singler and Nick Collison, appearance, both at the same time in that Brooklyn game? And I think that kind of shows you, I think, where their lack of depth is right now.
All right, we are talking to Bobby Marks of ESPN here on The Right Time. Back to the Warriors, though. A question you mentioned about them not really hitting in the draft. How hard is it to hit on those late first-round picks?
Oh, it's extremely hard, and it's pretty amazing that the guys they hit on are the players they bought in the second round. You know, picks Patrick McCaw, Jordan Bell. They paid about $5.9 million from them, and it's a crapshoot. I don't care where you're picking, unless maybe you're picking one and Ben Simmons is kind of staring right at you. You've got to figure out what guys are a fit. I mean, Kevon Looney, who they picked a couple years ago, they didn't even pick up his option for next year's fourth year. Damian Jones has been down in the G League in Santa Cruz, and that's what you need. I think that's where the difference is maybe with San Antonio, where you have Dejounte Murray, Kyle Anderson, guys like that. When Tony Parker and Kawhi Leonard are injured, you can kind of just slide those guys in there, and you're not going out there searching for minimum guys. And I think that's kind of what certainly has kept San Antonio afloat this season.
All right, we're talking to Bobby Marks of ESPN here on The Right Time. What do you think about the Jahlil Okafor trade to the Nets?
I liked it for Brooklyn. It's Okafor and Stauskas. It's basically a 5-month kind of tryout for both guys. I think, Okafor, I mean, we forget he's still 21. I mean, he doesn't turn 22 until next week. You kind of cut bait with him in Philadelphia. Where he fits will be interesting based on how Brooklyn plays. They kind of go up and down. I think if you want to slow the game down and put him at the 5, he's probably their best 5 now with what they have on the roster. They get a second-round pick in 2019. I think those are the type of trades that Sean Marks, their general manager, has to do and has been doing. You saw the D'Angelo Russell trade, Alan Crabb, guys like that. And with Trevor Booker, and I'm a huge fan of him, he was a free agent this offseason. You probably weren't going to bring him back, and at least you get two guys in their 20s and you get a second-round pick for him and for a team that's probably not going to go to the playoffs.
Now, do Okafor's on-court, off-court numbers worry you? Because even going back to Duke, it seems like his teams are better when he doesn't play.
It does, but I think if you're going to take a flyer on it and not really give up anything, it's not like Brooklyn had to give up picks to get him. I think it's certainly worth the risk. I think as I said earlier, the only concerning point is if you watch Brooklyn play, they like to shoot a lot of threes. They like to go small a lot. Booker played the 5, a lot during the year. What happens when the game slows down? I don't think they're a half-court team, so that will be probably the one interesting thing to watch there.
All right, we're talking to Bobby Marks of ESPN here on The Right Time. Have you been surprised by how good the Rockets have been on defense?
It's amazing. It really is. And I think, and I said it the other night, sometimes it's a little bit easier when you're integrating a new point guard. I know Chris was out for a little bit while, but the guys they got in the offseason, PJ Tucker, Luke Baumute, guys who, hard-nosed guys who know their roles. Clint Capella is having a career year. He'll be a restricted free agent in the offseason. And, yeah, I mean, I am surprised. I thought when we looked at the Western Conference, I had Oklahoma City ahead of Houston just based on the offensive firepower with Thunder. And what Houston's been able to do with their defense is pretty amazing. And they got Eric Gordon kind of playing at an all-star level from an offensive standpoint. So, yeah, I am surprised for a team that's kind of another team that goes up and down there that's kind of been their I guess their bread and butter so far, and that will go a long way when you get into the playoffs.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels kind of like an evolution of Daryl Morey, because if there's ever been a complaint that I've had of him is that he wasn't concerned enough with things like chemistry and personality of a team, and he made those sorts of moves that seem less about, I'm sure the numbers probably helped, but like the personality of the team.
Well, you're right. I mean, it's usually, and I kid with Daryl when I see him, and I always say that, when free agency starts, he's always the guy that's chasing these big-name guys. And I think that helped this past offseason that he did not have to, besides doing the Chris trade before June, before free agency, that once he did that, then he can kind of just focus on signing role players. Can you imagine what would happen if they did the Carmelo trade? That thing probably might be where Oklahoma City is right now. Maybe not as worse, but that might have kind of, skewed their chemistry because you probably wouldn't have had a Ryan Anderson. Maybe you wouldn't have had an Eric Gordon there. So what happens to Tucker and Muta as far as what their role is? And as I said, it fits. Sometimes we get caught up about the names on the back of the jerseys, but guys who can kind of do the dirty thing, little things and get their hands dirty are the guys that really kind of earn their keep.
All right, that is Bobby Marsh. Check him out as an insider on the NBA for us here at ESPN. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, now get instant gold status at Shell. Join the Fuel Rewards program now at fuelrewards.com/gold.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back Monday for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.